Welcome to CUNY TV presents COVID-19, a crisis in motion, a virtual town hall meeting. I'm Mike Gilliam. This is our 5th town hall, and we're going to take a look at higher education and how it's being changed by the realities of the coronavirus pandemic. The virus hit education hard, forcing colleges and universities to close their doors and send students home. Courses had to be adapted to distance learning in a very short period of time. At CUNY, technical and equality challenges emerged because many students and some educators didn't have laptops or tablets, tools needed for online learning to succeed. The school mobilized and with the help of Governor Cuomo purchased and distributed 30,000 laptops and tablets to students who needed them to successfully continue and complete the semester online. During that recalibration period, the concern was students who did not have computers would fall behind and drop out. The goal, according to the chancellor, was to help students succeed, keep them enrolled, and protect their financial aid. The pandemic has been a major game changer. Now we're looking forward and trying to understand what college will be like, not only in the fall, but in the years to come. There are many questions. Will we ever return to the old normal? Will there ever be lectures with hundreds of students in one lecture hall? What about campus life? How will that change if we still need to practice social distancing? What about dorms, dining halls, and college athletics in the age of the coronavirus pandemic? We have a great group to help us envision the future. Cathy N. Davidson is the founding director of the Futures Initiative at the CUNY Graduate Center. Catherine Voulgarides is here from the Department of Special Education at Hunter College. We also have the CUNY Athletic Conference Director, Zak Ikovic, and we're also joined by Stephen Mintz, a senior advisor to the President for Student Success and Strategic Initiatives at Hunter College. Welcome to all of you. Stephen, let's start with you. Higher education is facing a financial tsunami that will alter what we've come to know as college life for years to come. How will it change?
Well, there's what's going to change, and then there's what should change. Among the things that are certainly going to change is that institutions are going to be very financially hard-pressed. Their revenue stream has been hurt badly. Enrollment is very uncertain. It's been very expensive to adapt to the new normal. And this is going to exaggerate the stratification that characterizes higher ed today. But this is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to address deep-seated problems, including what I think is the single biggest problem, which is transfer student success. 80% of our junior college students want to get a bachelor's degree. 13% do. We can do better.
Those are certainly horrible numbers when it comes to people going on to get that degree. Now, things are still uncertain in the near future, but Cathy N. Dyson, what do you expect college courses to look like in the years to come?
Well, it's hard to say, but I think because there's no one thing, but I hope that we will take this crisis and make it an opportunity. There's no reason why college shouldn't be absolutely relevant to everything we need to rebuild in the wake of everything that's happening now. And I don't just mean COVID, I also mean police brutality, racism, all of that. College is specifically and remarkably geared to dealing with complex problems that need all of us from every discipline, from the sciences to the humanities, the social sciences, thinking together. My optimism of the future, and I have to admit that optimism comes and goes, my optimism is we'll use this crisis to say, let's really rethink the best kind of general education for all of our students, because general education is vocational education. In a changing, complex world, we need to know everything, and we need to know how to work together and use that for social justice and the best possible society.
Catherine, all of this brings challenges that'll need to be addressed so that students can succeed. In fact, all students can succeed, right?
Yep. Absolutely. I think one of the things that I really think about in this moment in time is when we look at education research or just look at trends in education, we often know that there's disparities and inequities, but the solutions that we look for and we keep asking the same questions. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Oftentimes our research is telling us why, and it's how do we actually leverage what we know in a way that's going to make meaningful impact and change. And recently I was just reflecting on the current events that's going on now, and I was looking back to the 1960s. The Kerner Commission was looking at police brutality and trying to think about what is, why during the 1960s, why did we get into a position that's similar to now with protests, rioting, and looting? And the questions that they were asking in that report was, what happened to cause this? Why did it happen? And what can be done to prevent it from happening again? And I think it's those static questions that we need to move away from as we think about the future of higher education in this time period. And we really need to look at our history, the history of CUNY. We need to look at the history of higher education, how it's uplifted generations of students, but how it's also maintained inequality, and really think about what's worked in the past and how do we leverage those lessons learned from history to make this moment better in time, instead of asking what's happening, why is this happening, but what can we actually do based on what we know, because we do know a lot about why we're here now, and it's about leaning into that knowledge and making change for equity.
Mm-hmm. Zach, one important part of college life is the things that are available outside of the classroom. Sports is one of them. Give us a feel for how large the sports program is at CUNY and how things could change.
We certainly are not going to do anything in a vacuum, and that's the difficult thing with sports in CUNY and nationally, because we need vibrant campuses, student life, and students on campus to take courses for us to thrive in the CUNY system. Our programs have grown significantly. We have 15 campuses with intercollegiate athletic programs, 2 in Division II, 8 in Division III, which is non-scholarship, and an additional 5 junior colleges. So we have a very vibrant program that we continue to work on and enhancing for our students, because there are a lot of students that choose their college campuses based on strength and involvement in athletic programs. So we want to be part of that. We want to be part of that story. The current situation makes it even more difficult because we are so enormously affected in New York City that our realities going forward may not be the same, and likely will not be the same as the rest of the country. So while the rest of the country may have vibrant athletics on their campuses, we may be a step or two behind because we have a lot more to deal with in our society and in our city and region.
Mm-hmm. But as far as like the financial end of this is concerned, athletics kind of plays a role in that at some of your Division III schools, because so many students are there to play sports, but they're not on scholarship, right? They're paying money, correct?
Correct. And they are. And I think as we look at the trends in CUNY with enrollment going up during the summer months, that may be a boost to us because we may see additional numbers. But the question is, will we be able to be safely on campuses to compete in sports and have that value add? And the only way we're back on campuses and playing sports is if it's safe for other personnel and students to be on that same campus. And that's the battle that we're going under right now.
Stephen, I want to stick with the financial end of it just a bit here. Public schools rely on tuition, people paying to come to school. Do you feel that students are going to be willing to pay for online education at this point, this new kind of college that we have? You already see people are suing to get reimbursed for, money spent over the spring semester. Where do you see that all going?
We better provide a high quality experience, or students aren't going to be willing to pay the money that this costs. We can create online experiences that really are engaging and immersive. We can develop sophisticated simulations. We can create interactive courseware. We have the power to create more personalized learning pathways. We can create a sense of community online, but we have to do it. We couldn't do it in 1 week. We couldn't do it in 2 weeks. But given enough time and enough resources, we can create a really vibrant experience for our students, who are, of course, going to spend much of their work lives in online environments too.
Cathy, jump in here.
Well, we actually have one program that addresses some of Stephen and Catherine's questions and is an online program, which is ASAP, the program that comes out of our School of Professional Studies, which has increased retention rate and graduation rate from 8% to over 50%. It's a signature program for the entire country. It's online. It offers courses, both synchronous and asynchronous, at times where students who are our kind of student, the CUNY student, who's working full-time and going to school full-time, who's taking care of kids, and sometimes parents too, can actually take classes that fit their schedule and create a learning community.
Catherine, what do you see in that area?
I really see it coming from the School of Education, really thinking about the power of education. It's really centered upon relationships and relationship building within K through 12 schools, within higher education. There's something so powerful about human connection and true human connection that when done well, you have great classroom environments, you have great learning. So it's thinking about, in this virtual space, how do we create relationships that are going to connect students with each other, connect professors with students, connect the resources at CUNY schools and colleges to our students in a way that's going to be meaningful and that does promote equity. Because there's oftentimes the students that are asking for help or that know to go to a professor or know how to ask for help in a way that, or don't like the grade they got. Oftentimes there's a lot of research that says it's very class-based, right? I can ask an institution or I can ask a professor to change my grade, or I can, you brought up in the beginning of your intro about how schools are being sued. Oftentimes students that are at lower socioeconomic status or that are, first generation college students don't know how to ask institutions in a way that will change the way institution is responding to their needs. And I think it's really important that we center relationships and the power of relationships to allow our students to get from our system what they deserve and need and what they're paying for. And that means that as a professor, as someone who's focused on pedagogy, I need to focus on making sure that my students are able to access my knowledge, I can access the knowledge that they have, and together we create a community of learning that's going to reverberate outward of our university classrooms into bettering our society and working collectively.
I think the best technology we can make for distance learning won't just be fancy, expensive technology, but will also be that human element that really looks to the kind of conditions you were talking about, Catherine, to what Stephen was talking about in terms of graduation. Maybe even some sports would be involved too, Zach. I'm not sure, but we have to think about the humans on the other side of the Zoom screen. We're not just looking at screens. We're humans with complex lives, and we have to find ways to connect to that and teach people how to connect with that as teachers.
That's very close to what I wanted to ask you guys about. I mean, because one of the words that we continually hear about this online learning from students is, I'm bored.
Yes. Of course. My students were not bored this semester though, but they were doing amazing things. I had my students create the class. I said to my students, what can we do that's relevant? And it was the most remarkable, relevant class I've probably taught in my career.
What I would pick up on is you guys talking about the quality of the experience, whether it's the human touch or whether it's online. And I think a lot of people are adapting to the online. So it might be a way we change the way we teach those classes to make sure that they're not bored. And same way we interact with them and bring them into our lives. So this is a great opportunity for the CUNY system as a whole to engage some students who go, I don't want to go to that school that costs $60,000. I'll go to CUNY. And oh my God, lo and behold, what I had a great experience. And it's all about the experience that they could tell their friends. And they go, not only did I save tons of money, but I got a great experience. I'm going to stick with this. So this is a window for us to take advantage of and grab those students and show them what CUNY education, the quality of it is. Because that's what we're doing on the athletic side. We're really trying to show them that, yeah, you might be paying a tuition that might seem high for you, but in the whole scheme of things, we're giving you a phenomenal experience. So we go out of our way. We just did a whole 3 months worth of CUNY trivia so we could keep our students engaged and give out prizes. And we just gave a Brooklyn College student a free iPad because she answered the most questions right. And this summer, we're going to do a series of educational webinars as to resources that students can grab and student athletes can grab onto that they may not be aware of, because we have our coaches who are in essence taking care of their students on a regular basis. They are their guidance counselors and they are their student affairs counselors that are there in addition to support them to make sure that they succeed. So we have the armies out there doing great work. We have to just make sure that the quality experience is at a high level, and we're going to keep them and show them what CUNY is all about.
Stephen, you see this as kind of an opportunity as well. Do you see students opting to go to smaller schools, use the CUNY system, that sort of thing, and stay closer to home now?
Students are going to take courses much closer to home, and CUNY is going to be overwhelmed by students. And right now, CUNY is under threat from the budget deficits that both the city and the state are experiencing. But we have to remember that the best money we can spend right now is about giving young people a future. And now that's going to require all of us to step up.
Yeah.
Professors are going to have to be mentors as well as teachers. They're going to have to support their students. We're going to have to dig deep in our pockets and create pure mentors. That is older undergraduates who can help their classmates. We're going to have to be a real full service organization. Education isn't just about cognitive development. It's about social development and physical development and every other kind of development we can think of. And CUNY is going to be at the front lines of this. We've got to do a great job, and somehow we've got to find the resources to allow us to do it. We cannot lay off vast swaths of our faculty at a time when we're going to have more students than ever.
But Stephen, you don't see government coming up with the money to do this, right? So where's it going to come from? Is it going to come from private tech companies or something like that? Where are we going to get the resources?
The resources are going to have to come from everywhere, but this means we're going to have to be engaged in a political process. That is, the government at all levels, but particularly at the level of the federal government, are going to have to be persuaded that this is an indispensable investment in this nation's future. And we're going to have to find the resources to provide the kind of education we need to offer.
Back when Brooklyn was one of the most impoverished boroughs during the Depression, that's when Brooklyn College was created. We need a TVA and a New Deal right now that centers on education.
Let's talk a little bit about the types of courses that are being offered, though, because you're going to have to make this more appealing. You're going to have to get more students in, and you're going to have to put them in a position to work after college. Should the courses change over the next few years? Are we looking at a different type of education?
I'm going to indirectly answer part of that question, and then hopefully we can all work together on it also. But I think that the type of text, the type of knowledge, the type of critical thinking and synthesis that we're asking our students to do needs to be responsive to the current realities. So we can teach the technicalities. In my case, I can teach the technicalities of lesson planning or, all these different pieces, but that doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I think a way to make our work relevant in a way that draws students in is to make them feel like they're empowered within their knowledge. And that's situating it in our current reality, which is we're in a pandemic. We're in a time of complete unrest, social, societal, political unrest, and we need to make the curriculum and the content relevant for our students so that, again, those genuine human relationships can flourish in our classrooms where we're debating, we're synthesizing, we're processing, and we're critically thinking about what the future is. This word reimagining has become, this kind of flashpoint coming from Cuomo and then coming down to what that means for schools across the state. And I think it's not necessarily about reimagining education, but again, it's just thinking about what are our strengths as human beings in a space and place where we're in complete turmoil, and how do we leverage that to make our students leaders and social transformers in this world.
I taught this semester when we went online. I was teaching a course on transformative learning with Eduardo Viana, a medical doctor and a PhD from LaGuardia Community College. It was for social scientists and humanists. And one of our students was taking care of a 3-year-old nephew whose parents were ill. And the deal was, we met asynchronously except for 1 hour a week. And the deal was he would nap while we were teaching and learning, but he got to wake up at the end of the class to count for us. And he would run to the screen going, I wake up counting. My class is now turning everything we did, our lesson plans, the methods, the content, everything into a book that anybody can learn from for how to go online. And we're calling it I Wake Up Counting, because I think every student should count, and we should figure out ways that we can make our education relevant and meaningful to our students' life. It's not hard. It's hard. In fact, it's hard to imagine any course that isn't relevant now, but it takes the professor and their department really thinking about the curriculum as sort of turning it inside out, not for what was received, but what we can give back to this society that's in so much trouble right now and what we have to offer. We have tremendous gifts. We just have to figure out together how to make those gifts relevant. We have to wake up counting.
21st century education needs to speak to the 21st century. It needs to address our incredibly diverse, non-traditional student body that is juggling very complicated lives. And the idea of them taking 5 disparate, disconnected classes every semester is madness. They can't do it. No one could do it. The courses need to be relevant. We need to embed career preparation into our classes. We need to be much more skills oriented than we were in the past. We can't just teach college algebra. We need to teach data literacy. We need to teach informatics. We need to be thinking about the world that they're going to be a part of.
So are the humanities dead then? Do you still need to teach that? Or do we just...
More important than ever. More important than ever. We did a section on data analysis in our class, and taught mostly by quantitative scientists in the class, because it's a student-centered class. And what we had to do was we read Ruha Benjamin, we read other people who look at what data means.
And I think also thinking critically about the variables that you're thinking about, how you're defining people or groups of people, also tells us something about the society that we're trying to analyze. And if we're not doing it with a critical, intersectional, and equity-based lens, then we're going to be thinking about our society, about returning back to what used to be as normal, when we don't want that normal. We need to see something different now that's going to make sense for the world that we live in, that's starting to expose some of the truths that are part of our country that we need to grapple with across multiple institutions and dimensions of society.
Okay, we're almost out of time. I'd like to have each of you, though, just take a moment to just tell us what you think education is going to look like 2 years from now, higher education. Let's start with you, Stephen.
High flex is my watchword. That means we're going to have to be able to serve every student in multiple ways. And students can make a decision, and they can change during the course of the semester. That is, they'll be able to do fully face-to-face, fully online, hybrid, low residency. We have to be able to be prepared to teach them in the modes they need.
Catherine?
My hope is that it's going to be more community-based and not as individualized, so that we're working together for a broader good, not just to get the degree and educational attainment and a job, but that we're thinking in a more collective way. And I think that it's also really important, and hopefully this is something that we see coming in the future, is we listen to our students. We all receive student evaluations, but at the same time, we need to listen to what they're really saying in terms of how they're engaging with us and how they're not, and figure out how to develop from there and to better our institutions and our practice.
How about you, Zach?
Well, I think that we're going to see a lot of changes. Certainly, you see a lot of colleges that may be shutting down because students may not just come back to schools that are so expensive or don't see a value in them anymore. I think in CUNY system, we have to look at sports are an important factor, because I know for me, for 30 plus years, it's been the social incubator where diversity plays itself out in real life, where time management skills, leadership skills, teamwork skills are honed each and every day with daily wins and losses. It's the only entity in higher education where you get feedback every single day from your coach. You did this right, you did this wrong, you win, you lose, you adjust, you learn. It's higher education at its best. And we need to make sure that that's a model that fits in sort of what Stephen mentioned, in real time, adjust to the realities, but sports play an important piece. And I hope that we don't lose the sense of technology is important, online learning is important, but so is the human interaction, and so is student life on the campus.
Cathy, you get the last word.
Public education for the public good, and that means public support for education.
But what will college look like 2 years from now?
I hope it achieves what President Emerita Gail Mello calls the top 100%. And that is, instead of selectivity as the main criteria, we think of who students are, what they need, and we find ways to educate every student to their maximum potential.
Online, hybrid, a combination?
Combination, online, hybrid, inside, outside, extracurricular activities, and most important, working in your community to show how the education you're learning in class today also applies to the world today and helps make that world a better place.
Yeah, lots of things to think about there. Schools were already facing huge financial challenges, and the pandemic has certainly made things worse, and very quickly. And we haven't even touched too much on social unrest and what that means for campuses and students as they get more involved. We want to thank our guests for providing their insight. Cathy N. Davidson, the founding director of the Futures Initiative at the CUNY Graduate Center. Catherine Voulgarides, she's from the Department of Special Education at Hunter College, and the CUNY Athletic Conference Director, Zak Ikovic, and Stephen Mintz, a Senior Advisor to the President for Student Success and Strategic Initiatives at Hunter College. Thanks to all of you. And thank you for joining us for our virtual town hall, COVID-19, a crisis in motion. I'm Mike Gilliam. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.